Conversaban sobre hombres que se sienten exageradamente delicados y su participación injusta en deportes femeninos, y cuando le preguntaron en cuanto al tema, el activista conservador Andrew Wilson provocó que este hombre, que usa vestido escotado color rojo y que se autopercibe programador de Java, comenta si entendiste la referencia y la autocensura, se sulfurara y lanzara ataques personales. Sin embargo, al final, Andrew salió riendo con su épica réplica y lo verás en este video. Mira el video y dime si Andrew tiene razón o no.
Biological men who identify as trans, who were pretty unsuccessful competing against other biological men, and suddenly they're winning against women or taking Olympic places from women, etc., etc. And I think the UN came up with nearly 900. I mean, John Oliver tried to ridicule this, but nearly 900 medals around the world, I think, in the last year went to trans athletes in women's sport. This cannot be right. It's not fair.
I think it's difficult. I think that there's a lot of emphasis being put on trans people in sports specifically. I made it very clear, like, I am not here to spit facts or spew anything in terms of like statistics or anything like that. I have my lived experience as a trans person. I feel that there's so much attention being put on to this specific subject because what you guys really want underlying is the eradication of trans people and them to not be involved in any system.
No, you see there, look, look, Stasia,
that is the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life.
Right, it's ludicrous. Where have you got that from? Where is anything I have ever said?
To speak out for others.
I'm more so referring to
honestly.
I have seen certain things that you said in other interviews, Pierce, with like my friend Blossom and other trans individuals.
Yeah.
I just feel that the emphasis that is being put
And what was
on
transphobic? What have I ever said that could be remotely construed as transphobic or trans-hating or wanting to get rid of trans people? Ever. I challenge you right now. Tell me.
I haven't really directed that at you just from sitting here. I more so am just here to say that I feel that the issue that's being pressed is because it's a...
You just directed it at him. What are you talking? You directed it at him.
I think that the issue that is being put on trans athletes is a way to eradicate trans people.
But this is, with respect, this
Pierce,
is
can
ridiculous.
I interject for a moment?
In the 1960s and 70s, when feminists that came before me set up women's shelters, rape crisis centres, hospital wards, prison wings for women, recognising that some men, not all, but a sizable minority, are a threat to women because sexual violence and harassment is a threat, we weren't told by men, not all of them were pleased, but largely they understood. We weren't told by men, you're trying to erase and eradicate men. The vast majority of men understood why we needed to do this. All we're doing is saying men, and you can call them trans women if you like, but men have no place in women's prisons, domestic violence shelters, and sports.
I think
Can I ask her a question? Would you think it's fair if Novak Djokovic identified as a woman and then played Serena Williams in a tennis set? Do you think that would be fair to Serena Williams, who worked her whole life to become a star tennis player, just to get swept by Novak, who's the #1 men's tennis player? I just want to know if you think that that's fair.
Yeah, I just think that the question is ridiculous because
Why is it ridiculous?
It's not ridiculous at all.
I see how it's trying to be framed. I'm gonna keep going back to my original point. Your guys' excessive attention on wanting to remove trans people from sports and have them play in their biological sex, which makes no sense because even in John Oliver's interview,
or in their own category,
the category that would make sense,
or in their own category,
there's not enough of them to create a category. Like the percentile is so small.
Actually, there actually are an increasingly large number of trans athletes around the world, actually. That's not true. Andrew, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you. This seems to me, this whole debate so far highlights the way this debate has been framed now for years, which is that any attempt to question what is obviously grotesquely unfair and unequal and indeed unsafe is branded transphobic.
This person says, well, you know, the thing is you just want to erase transgender people altogether, Pierce, and then says, I wasn't saying that, Pierce. I wasn't saying that you want to erase trans people, not you specifically, when clearly that's what you were saying. At least get behind the statements that you're making. The truth is that the only reason that this happens to begin with is because women vote for it. They vote for it. They vote blue. They vote left. They vote in the same politicians who get behind all of this stuff. You're the deciding vote, right? And you have empowered women to do that as much as possible for the political process to do that, right? Under patriarchal rule, under men, this would never have happened, right? If you look at how men vote, they vote against this nonsense. And it's fathers who are on the front lines against it. It's women who are trying to transition the children, not men. Give me a case example of where male fathers are trying to transition their kids. It doesn't exist. It's a female-only phenomenon. Literally a female-only phenomenon.
That is insane.
Yeah, show me one. Show me one male father who's fighting in the courts to transition their son to a girl.
Stasia, why are you so outraged by what he's saying?
I'm not outraged. I just think that you all are fairly stupid. And everything that's being said is ridiculous. And it's just like a comedy show.
You think you can change your sex? How can you ever call anybody stupid? How can you ever call anybody stupid?
Yeah,
you
she
think
should
you
sit
can
that
change
one
your
out.
sex?
Es revelador analizar cómo ciertos debates actuales, especialmente aquellos que involucran la participación de hombres biológicos en competencias femeninas, suelen derivar en ataques personales cuando se cuestionan con argumentos sólidos en lugar de responder con razonamiento o datos optan por la descalificación y el insulto. Este patrón no es casual. Cuando las ideas no pueden defenderse por mérito propio, algunos recurren a la agresión verbal para silenciar a quienes las cuestionan. En el deporte, la ciencia es clara. Las diferencias fisiológicas entre hombres y mujeres otorgan ventajas competitivas insuperables. Permitir que hombres biológicos compitan en categorías femeninas no solo es injusto, sino que borra los logros de atletas que han entrenado años, bajo reglas claras. Lo preocupante es que, al reaccionar con ataques personales en lugar de argumentos, se confirma una realidad incómoda. Ciertas posturas ideológicas no toleran el escrutinio. Si la inclusión fuera realmente el objetivo, se buscarían soluciones que no sacrifiquen la equidad, como categorías separadas. Pero cuando el diálogo se reemplaza por ataques, queda claro que lo que importa no es la justicia, sino la imposición de una narrativa. Un debate saludable requiere respeto por los hechos, no por las emociones. Si queremos proteger el deporte femenino y mantener la integridad de las competencias, debemos dejar de normalizar que los argumentos se midan por la intensidad de los gritos y no por la solidez de sus fundamentos. ¿Y tú qué opinas? Déjamelo saber en los comentarios. Con esto finaliza el video. Si te gustó, no olvides darle like, comentar y compartir. Y si disfrutas este tipo de contenido, suscríbete a mi canal. Tengo más videos que podrían interesarte. Gracias por tu apoyo. Nos vemos en el próximo video.